you
All right.
like this, I get to see my face too on the side.
So I've hit record. I'm just giving the encoder a bit to stop dying. I don't know.
Of
It doesn't
course.
even matter on that end because it's in a recorded mode, not being streamed live or anything. All right. So I guess whenever I get up the nerve to sound like I'm an actual broadcaster, we'll start.
All right, put your professionalism on.
Well, it's not. I didn't put anything down on paper or anything. I have no idea what the hell I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is Raktus, and you are.
I'm Griffin. Hey.
Hey, and we're putting out a new show. We figure we get into the reaction game. You know, couple 10 years after it's hit, and
Well, if we're late, then at least we'll be on the tail end where all the better stuff is.
sure, we'll say that.
We'll pretend.
We're calling this show Stone-Faced Reactions because both of us are stone-faced bastards who have no significant emotional reaction to anything we see.
I cut out all my emotions last year. It was a surgical procedure. My feelings on that are no longer existent.
Well, I'm glad that our health benefits are paying for it, so cool. Today we were planning on reacting to the newest death battle, I believe Season 7, which is Static Shock versus Spider-Man. Uh, Miles Morales. And they don't list it on the video, but Static Shock's name, I believe, from my recollection, is Virgil Hawkins. Could be
Yes,
Hawkins.
that is correct. Virgil,
Alright.
a very, very fancy name, and I think during the show they even kind of like play off of that a little bit. It's like Virgil. It's like, yeah, we get it. It sounds a little fancy.
Yeah, I remember that was at late 90s the show was on.
Yeah, more than likely, somewhere between like 2000s and 2010.
Yeah, and I believe that the character was made for the show, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think later on he ends up involved in other DC properties at some point, or at least like they imply like he totally becomes a part of the Justice League in the future.
Well, yeah, there was a
Through Batman Beyond, of course.
well, there was also an episode of Justice League where the timelines keep shifting around, and he just appears in one of them as an adult,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe.
I think that's exactly the same one I was thinking about. So let's see. So between the two characters, I've seen more of Static Shock, and I have a general impression of what he's capable of, and he's reasonably powerful enough there. And then there's Miles Morales, who is new to me, but I think has existed in other Spider-Man properties for a while. And of course, everyone now knows him from the movie, the Enter the Spider-Verse movie, which is fantastic. Highly recommend that. Between the two, I feel like I don't really know what the extent of like Miles's power is going to really be. Like he can go invisible, he can do a static blast at some point, but I think like the bigger thing for him is obviously going to be he literally just has all the Spider-Man powers, and that's already like a high bar to beat. Meanwhile, from what I recall, Static isn't really like superhuman reactions or anything. He gets like decked by low flying light poles half the time. So best of luck to him, but he can also literally fly and just rain down hell. So if he stays out of reach, then he can't be touched. But again, it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever he wants. So he's gonna like web up him while he's in the air, drag him down, and then just punch him and he's over. And nothing else matters after that. So unless Static has like some sort of like electro sense power I wasn't inherently aware of, it's gonna be really, really, really tough for him. That's my evaluation. What about you?
Well, everything you just said, because I watched, I want to say most of Static Shock as a TV show. I remember I
Mhm.
didn't finish it because I had to go back and watch it when I heard Brainiac was in an episode. It's like, Brainiac, Static Shock, that seems out of his league. And it was because I brought in the Justice League. But,
100%. It's one of those like,
yeah.
hey, there's a bigger world out here kind of episodes, right?
Yeah, because I mean, Static Shock is the DC version of the mutants thing, because, you know, they all got exposed to a mutagenic thing.
Yeah, that's right. They start off the initial episode with the explosion. Everyone has random powers, and then they spread out, and stuff happens from there. Yeah.
Except for his sidekick slash best friend, who's just
They-
Donatello.
They never take like the Marvel aspect of like mutants are feared and despised kind of angle. They always seems like everyone's like halfway cool with it as long as something bad's happening.
Well, I mean, they do from a street angle because there's always crime gangs, you know, as opposed to those regular gangs
Yeah,
that are so friendly.
I guess it's two like very different kind of perspectives where like the X-Men are taking like this very wide societal angle, and I guess Static Shock was always meant to be like far more personal. And also draw more parallels with like the main character who's just, you know, a black guy trying to grow up, and that's it.
Well, I mean, in Marvel...
So it's going to be probably more toned down than X-Men ever was intended to be.
In Marvel, the mutants are all of mankind, whereas in Static Shock, it's just this one town.
Yeah, so also, it's never going to scale up to like a society-wide problem at most within the city, but that was also the scope of the show, so it may as well have been everything. So, but that's still fine.
So
no Sentinel robots, though.
To your thing, you were saying you're going... Am I hearing right that you're saying that Miles is going to take this? From your initial...
I think right now, on an initial basis, I'd have to say Miles has far more advantages than Shock probably does, even though Shock probably has outright killing power.
Fair enough. I mean, I would be disappointed if Miles doesn't grab... Because you remember Static Shock rides around on a... What was it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm 100% expecting that to just be swiped out from under his feet.
Yeah, sewer drinker. I'd be disappointed if he didn't grab it and do that one, 360 rotate.
I'll take a further bet. That's going to be like the first 5 seconds of the death battle.
Okay. Well,
the introduction part.
We can't agree on the very first reaction video. We can't agree on the thing, so I'm going to have to take Static, Virgil, to win this.
Oh, okay.
So, you'll take Miles, I'll take Static. We'll watch the video, see how things happen. I mean, Static, he has electricity, but I'm thinking he has more electricity than Miles does. Miles seems to react...
absolutely.
Miles seems to react in the way that an electric eel would, and Static Shock is like an outlet, right?
Yeah, the way Static seems to work is that he has like far more versatility, utility, and probably more finesse out of his power. He can do way more things with it, and we'll have to see what like the Rooster Teeth team here decides is all the things he could do. Let's see the research.
All right, well,
let's see who's up first.
Let's get into the video.
Yeah.
Throughout the Earths of Marvel and DC Comics, there are hundreds, no thousands of superheroes saving the day. But what if I told you there were even more across the multiverse?
Oh, great, as if we don't have enough to keep track of already.
Miles Morales, the Spider-Man of Marvel's Earth number 1610.
And Static, the electric genius from DC's Dakotaverse. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons,
true?
armor, and
I guess
skills
he is
to
kinda
find out
smart.
who would win a death battle.
Yeah, he makes his own gadgets.
I thought he actually had his friend do
At
most
first
of that.
glance, the
Maybe they're
world of
both
Earth
smart.
1610
It's been a
isn't
long
so
while.
different from our own. But look closer
There
and
we
you'll
go,
find
Miles.
Coca Soda instead of Coca-Cola, PDNY officers instead of NYPD.
And a hamburger and fries can cost 30,000 goddamn dollars.
But perhaps the greatest
Jesus
difference
Christ.
in this so-called Ultimate Universe was that Peter Parker, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, was dead.
Enter Miles Morales. He was your typical kid from Brooklyn and didn't have much to worry about except his overbearing mom and dad. Hey kid, appreciate your folks while you have them. You never know when they're gonna pull a surprise Uncle Ben.
Well, Miles spent most of his time with his more laid-back Uncle Aaron, who turned out to be a secret supercriminal.
Wow, he looks a lot like Deadpool there.
Anyway, during one of his heists
Yeah, you're
into
stealing
a
my
secret
thoughts.
lab, Aaron accidentally scooped
Yeah, we
up a
certainly
spider.
didn't have a whole
The next
problem
time
here when we
Miles
went back
visited,
over
the
it multiple
spider
times.
got loose and,
Definitely
you
no
know what
problems
happens.
whatsoever.
Miles, let's go.
This spider carried the genetic enhancing Oz formula, yet another attempt to recreate Captain America's infamous super soldier serum. It had previously transformed Peter Parker into the first Spider-Man.
Wait a minute, who came up with the idea to store the super serum in a friggin' spider?
Scientists can be weird sometimes.
Maybe next time, put it in something.
Yeah, that's
can't
actually
walk
something that I
away.
don't think ever
It's
got an
8
explanation.
legs. That's like
Also,
4 times more
I
walking
didn't know
power.
Spider-Man had any
Sure.
relation
Either
to
way,
Captain
with his new
America's
powers,
super
Miles
serum.
donned
I guess
red and
maybe
black
just in
to
this
become the
iteration.
ultimate
Yeah, 'cause this is an
Spider-Man.
alternate universe.
As the newest
Yeah.
Spider lad on the block, he
At
does
least that
whatever
makes,
a
like,
spider
perfect
can.
sense,
He's
honestly.
super strong, super fast,
That was from a
and has the
cartoon.
overpowered super
I don't know that
radar,
cartoon.
The spider sense.
Yeah.
After meeting Peter's Aunt May, Miles took up the classic web shooters, complete
He
with
has
multiple
Venom?
types of
Yeah,
long
I said
to
Mega
short
Venom
range webbing.
Blast.
Yet another
Damn.
tool that would be perfect for snagging
Oh,
a beer
infrared.
from the fridge without leaving the couch.
Boomstick, he was a teenager.
Different universe.
Also notice that they
different
changed the
drinking
animation
laws,
style here on
and
the
also,
over.
like Peter, he can stick to walls. You know, spider
Not a
style.
fan.
Yes, like some spiders, Miles can control his body's interatomic attraction, essentially sticking to walls like a magnet. However, unlike Peter, this subatomic electron manipulation gave Miles a few extra moves of his own.
Yeah, the kid's got electric powers. He can zap people with a quick touch,
Here's the
fire
real
off
stuff.
massive explosions, and even
Oh,
turn invisible.
This shows how
What's
wrong I
that
was
got
about
to do
how
with
much
shocking
power.
people?
This Venom sting can even take out the Ultimate Universe's Electro, a being literally made of electricity. But Miles didn't just shock him. He
Alright.
disrupted Electro's own
Be a nail in
That's
my
a lot.
coffin.
Similar to a miswiring sending too much electricity in one direction and shorting out your computer when somebody forgot to plug it into the surge protector.
Wiz, you know I don't believe in protection for anything. It's going in raw.
Anyway, as the new Spider-Man, Miles obviously had a lot to live up to. After his Uncle Aaron died in front of him,
Ha! Told you somebody would pull a Ben.
Miles pushed past the heartache. He persisted, living up to Peter's ideals, and eventually stepped out of his shadow to be Spider-Man in a way only he could.
Oh yeah, what's up, Danger? He can blast apart a building-sized monster and survived being slammed around by the giant Cassie Lang. That's Ant-Man's daughter.
He's smart enough to hack military
Oh, no,
drones
Ant-Man.
and
Oh,
quick
right.
enough to
Right,
destroy an
Ant-Man had
alien
daughter.
device in a microsecond. Essentially, he needed to open and close a portal in an impossibly short time frame to prevent an alien force from invading. It's a
Oh
long
yeah,
story.
he was in the new
What
Spider-Man
is he
game,
super
that's
fast?
right.
With his
Comparable
spider
to
sense,
somebody
he
that
actually
caught
tapped
that,
before
though.
they even
It's
happened.
comparable to somebody
He's
that
super
caught
tough
pneumonia.
too. He even survived being caught in this giant super
Also survived
collider
hits from a kangaroo.
exploding.
Measuring the size of this
Yeah.
hole using real-world maps of New York and solving for fragmentation, we know this explosion must have been equivalent to about 222 tons of TNT.
Sure, that's not technically canon to the comics, but guys,
hope there's
main
a lot of
series
Static
Spider-Man
Shock
has
facts
done
that I
way
don't know.
crazier things. I mean, he has the same powers, and Miles has even beat the crap out of him. Classic Pete can bench press 130 tons, use his spider sense to dodge beams of light, and ripped apart Doc Ock's robo-arms.
I'm
which
perfectly
survived
okay
a
with them
2
comparing him to other
nuclear
generic
explosion.
iterations of
So I'd say
Spider-Man.
the
That's
Super Collider
this is
feat
fine.
checks
Well,
out.
they fought each other. That's why
Unfortunately, Miles'
they are.
electric powers
Yeah.
can tire him out, and his spider sense does not protect him automatically, serving more as an alarm or proximity sensor.
But the youngins proved himself to be the best successor a Spider-Man could ever want, and more. He even got pulled into the main Marvel timeline when they blew up the Ultimate Universe. Miles Morales is truly one of the greats.
I keep forgetting how often they just blow up the universe in comics. It's always surprising.
That's how one of the ways Deadpool died.
Despite growing up in the most crime-filled neighborhood of Dakota City, Virgil
There we
Hawkins
go.
was a pretty chill
Static.
guy.
90s
Spent
animation.
his time playing D&D, reading
Oh,
comics,
gosh, it hasn't
you know,
aged.
typical nerd
AKA
stuff.
Kilowatt
Hasn't aged
Kid.
well.
One major problem: the classic
Hey, hobbies
sitcom
D&D.
bully. No teenage story is complete without it.
During school, he was frequently harassed by local gang leader Francis Stone. Virgil's only refuge was one of his few friends, Larry Wade.
Larry convinced
gosh, it
Virgil
is
there
such
was
a
only
90s
one way
look,
to get
too.
rid of Francis for good.
Ah.
Join his own gang and pack some heat. Things got, well, pretty intense, and Virgil wasn't having any of it. It was time to bail like DC Comics on their cinematic universe.
But the damage
Gets
was
rid of
already
gun,
done.
gets
The police
superpowers that
arrived
are
and
far
let loose
more
a massive
lethal.
canister of what seemed to be tear gas, but wasn't.
Yeah, this grape-looking mist was actually some experimental
The
shit.
grape
It was
mist.
supposed to tag each gang member so the cops could track them down later, but it was actually laced with radioactive quantum juice, which
Quantum
killed
juice.
almost everybody.
Perfect.
I hate it when
It was
that
all an
happens.
outright
Luckily,
fabrication.
Virgil was one of the few who
Dude in the
survived.
back there
There's
was
a
already
bunch of
turning
dead
into
Quantum
stone.
juice still had an effect.
You could say he was shocked to find out what it did.
Yes, he began to develop electromagnetic powers. Before this, Virgil always felt out of his league. But now, he was in a league of his own and became the superhero, Static.
Immediately hovers cars. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I put a shot to your system.
Hell yeah! With these new powers, the guy was unstoppable. He could blow shit up with electric bolts quick as lightning, make explosion balls called Nova Bombs, and taser people with punches to the face.
Right, but he's not
It's a
just
completely
good at
different
shocking
outfit.
people. Static can alter the electron attraction of any object
yeah, I
or
guess that
surface.
changes a whole bunch,
He can erect
doesn't it?
extremely durable electromagnetic force fields that block most attacks.
Can become
He can
electric
even move
energy.
metal around like a hip young Magneto.
And slip metal
Yeah, I
under
don't
his
remember
feet
that
to take to the
part.
sky. His favorite ride is the Static Saucer, a giant frisbee that doubles as a shield and buzzsaw. Think about it. Don't you wish your car could literally cut through traffic?
Obviously, turning superhuman overnight caught Virgil a bit off guard, but after a few speed bumps, he became a well-regarded superhero throughout the city of Dakota, even teaming up with fellow heroes like Icon and Rocket.
Icon and Rocket? Come on, where's Batman and Wonder Woman?
Oh, I should mention that while Static is part of the DC universe, he did not start there. See, Static was originally created by Milestone Comics, which eventually merged with DC. Their characters, including Static,
I guess I was
existed in an
wrong.
alternate timeline known as
Yeah,
the
here's some
Dakotaverse.
history.
Then a
This is
guy
good.
named Dharma gained cosmic power and accidentally blew everything up, sending Static into the main DC timeline. It's really not too
I know.
complicated.
Icon and Rocket joined.
I've actually been
only
working on a
through,
device to
Young
peer
Justice.
into alternate timelines, but unfortunately it's...
I remember this kind of same stuff happening with
What were
the
we
recent
discussing but a
Watchmen
moment
stuff.
ago?
Oh,
Specifically,
let's figure out who
Dr.
wins a
Manhattan.
fatality
Yeah, Doomsday
clusterfuck.
Clock. Read it all.
Oh, yes, I'm mad as hops.
I've
Once again,
heard
my fellow
synopsis. It's
Ultra
great.
Yeah.
I regret
good.
everything.
Oh, I'll do it again.
No! I'm sure that's fine.
Well, no matter the universe, Static was always one-upping himself. He learned how to see ultraviolet light and how to make people glow. Wait, what's that got to do with shocking people?
That would be his ability to detect bioelectric auras. Static can also create power-draining plasma coils, disrupt the electrical impulses of others,
Yeah, that's a
and
little
empower
goofy,
or
but
heal
okay.
himself by
Yeah,
draining
yeah,
energy
the
from
first one
outside
helps at all.
sources.
He can literally reattach his severed arm with shock power. I'm not even joking.
That's pretty cool. That's
Look
badass.
at this. Since when could electricity do
Oh.
that?
Clearly, Static has a lot of power at his
Well,
beck
it could
and call.
go electric
He can
form, I
survive
guess.
building-sized kabooms, lift hundreds of tons, and once turned this huge chunk of ice into slush in just a couple seconds.
Based on the size of the ice
Now
and the
that's
required change in
ridiculous.
temperature for such a feat, Static
What?
must have
Electricity
output
can
energy
melt
equal
stuff?
to
Why not?
180 tons of TNT.
He's quick enough to
That's gonna be a
There's
thing.
beams of
reasons.
That's gonna
actual
be a
light,
thing where they
which
don't
is
do the
pretty
math
darn
on the
fast.
front end and they're gonna
And
show
in
the
the
math on the
cartoon,
back
he
end.
actually shoved some quantum juice in some lockers and launched them out of orbit. These are typical school lockers, which can weigh up to 30 pounds each.
And fit approximately one nerd.
To throw 3 of these into space, they need to be moving nearly 3,000 times faster than sound, requiring a throwing force equal to 4 kilotons of TNT.
Damn! Okay, sure, that's not canon to
I'm
the
not
comic,
sure that
but
actually
his
broke orbit, if I'm
electromagnetism
gonna
could
be
play tug
honest.
of war
I
with
think he
Superboy's
destroyed it before it got
telekinesis,
that far.
which can lift 4 million tons.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Static can go that far, but if he's anywhere close, it's still higher than throwing some lockers around.
Though,
Tactile
despite Static's incredible
telekinesis
power,
replicates
insulators
humans.
are his kryptonite. And
My
he can
brain,
run out of juice if he pushes
Well, that's how
himself too
Superman
much.
lifts
But
like
the guy's one of the
an ocean
coolest
liner.
Yeah, it's how you
superheroes
lift
who
his
rarely
plane
got
without
his
crushing
time
the
to
whole
shine.
thing.
Yeah,
Heck,
without
he
snapping
was
in
good
half.
enough to join the Justice League. I think even Virgil himself was
Yeah.
shocked to see how cool he really was.
All right, the combatants
Alright.
are set, and we've run the data through all possibilities.
It's time for a death battle!
All right.
There we go.
I'm feeling a lot
Alright.
better about my decision.
Yeah, I'm slightly intimidated by the immense, overbloated power set that Static Shock has. At the same time, Miles can literally blow up buildings and is still the better Spider-Man out of all of them. So, the Bio Aura thing was something I didn't even register as a possibility because it's just such a goofy thought to myself. I'm like, nah, he doesn't have that on his list.
I don't see where it's gonna help him, but at the same time, I don't feel like they
It will
would've-
because Miles can go straight invisible, and
Yeah.
now he can just detect him, and now that's just one more trick out of the bag.
I
and it doesn't
already,
matter anymore.
I already forgot that he could go invisible. So yeah, that is a good point.
Oh, so it never factored in for you, yeah.
No, completely forgot. I was like, oh, he has spider sense, and at the same time can go invisible. It's like, okay, all right, I gotcha.
So perfect detection, ability to do things at range, far more technically strong, can literally throw razors at him with electricity. It's going to be really intimidating. I do have problems with them trying to measure the amount of heat melting, the amount of energy it takes to melt a bunch of ice using electricity. First of all, that's the worst possible way to probably melt some ice. Second of all, there's transition state energy. There's a lot that has to be put in to take it from one phase to another. And then the speed of it drastically changes the interpretation of the power, because if he's just sitting there for like 10 days, putting in like a 1 degree change every 10 hours, it's not nearly as impressive as like blowing it up in 10 seconds. So the time on that like drastically changes what he's capable of in terms of like melting stuff, but melting stuff with electricity isn't really that great of an application of his power, really.
Well, I
the
don't
more
know.
impressive thing is probably the throwing something into space one, which it probably didn't break orbit, but it doesn't matter.
It being harder to do, I think, is the impressive part. But knowing the way that these death battles operate, the fact that they showed us a bunch of stuff on the front end but didn't explain it means that they're going to explain it on the back half to show us why it was so strong, which means to me that Static Shock probably is going to win this, which means I picked correctly, despite my
Static Shock blows entire city up to bits, melts glacier, wins,
Something's going to happen. He's going to lose a limb or something, and he's going to look down and out, and he's going to turn into electricity and suck the power out of Miles Morales and put his limbs back together.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, if he turns to electricity, I have no idea how the battle is technically going to go at that point. Miles probably has tricks to make it possible to deal with him because he'll have electricity, but it's entirely unpredictable from there, honestly. It's whatever you really want to write. And I know these guys like love their math and using that to like demonstrate their arguments. I'm not sure the math really helps with that one at all.
Well, no,
unless they like pull out like examples of like what he does in electrical form.
No, because remember they have an example. He fought Electro before and won, and Electro is only.
Oh
electricity.
yeah. Miles is totally a electrical threat compared to Static Shock.
Yeah. So I guess
I still think Miles has like an edge in a lot of ways, but Static could just totally nuke the planet, I think. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my man Virgil.
All right. Death battle.
We're starting with the fight.
For real? You attack me! Well, I got more than one electric psychopath to keep.
Yeah, that sounds like every single episode of Static Shock right there. Alright, my prediction was wrong. He didn't get swiped off in the first 5 seconds. Oh, nope. Spoke too soon.
Oh, he tried.
Ah!
Me? Getting zapped? What's up with that?
I call that the shoulder touch. And I call this my taser punch.
There's a lot of tricks from the movie.
Oh yeah.
The music,
And jokes.
the color, the animation.
Here we go.
Love the music though.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what? Keep thinking, keep thinking.
Yeah, Electro blasting a rock is not too helpful. I guess it's a bunch of concrete with iron in it.
Yeah, 3-bar. Who knows?
Oh, hey, there we go. Just stick them to a wall. Easy.
Come on out, Spider Boy. Huh? No more flying pizza trays.
Oh, there you go. There's your thing.
Yeah, he did it.
Yeah, now there's a lot of other metal he can make into his riding.
Okay, you've got surprises.
Yeah, literally anything. I guess it's easier when it's just the disc. I don't know. Yeah, now that's...
Told you, there's the lost limb.
Yeah, hey, there you go.
What the? Whoa, not cool. You stupid. All I gotta do is... What? Plasma coil. If you hadn't noticed, this electric
Stop
biz
falling
is
at some
kinda my
point,
thing.
Virgil. You won't survive.
Static Shock is in no danger of falling to death, I think.
The lines were going down. I
And-
didn't want
There's the nuke. See, there we go.
First
Looks like
win,
we're
me.
kicking off this year with a
Yeah,
bang.
ah,
Poor Miles,
I'm the
though.
dumbest.
Honestly, I'm surprised how this turned out. At first glance, Miles appeared to have a good chance at victory.
He was definitely physically stronger than
Yeah, he
Static.
did.
Would have totally won an arm wrestling contest.
But Virgil's overwhelming electric power put him at a level above the young Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. Overall,
Yeah.
Static's feats were way above Spidey's, even when we scaled Miles to classic Peter Parker's biggest feats. Static definitely had the oomph to take Miles out, but Miles had no easy way to get around his force field.
The variety of techniques at Static's disposal
freaking
also
Magneto,
rent
of
many of
course.
Spider-Man's abilities moot.
Like how Spidey's
You know, now that you
invisibility
mention it, he
didn't matter
kinda
when
totally
Static
is,
could light
isn't
him
he?
up like a Christmas tree. And his speed was so similar to what the spider sense could give Miles that the super radar wasn't that big of a help. Remember, just because he knew an attack was coming didn't always mean he could dodge it in time.
And, well, shockingly, Static
Yeah, so I
only
guess with the
needed to hit
D-powered
him
spider
once.
sense there, it's a
See,
lot
his
more
electromagnetic manipulation gave him
on level with
control
what
over
Virgil's
Miles'
doing.
wall
I mean,
crawling
Kingpin,
and other
not the
abilities.
fastest guy.
As soon as he got a hold of Miles'
Also
bioelectric
true.
aura, it was basically all over.
But hey, Miles and all the other Spider-Men fight Electro all the time, and they have no problem dealing with him. Why was Static any different?
Simply put, every iteration of Electro pales in comparison. He has no feats of power that come even close to Static, and frankly, he's an idiot. This
I don't know
was a
about that.
fascinating matchup.
Sorry,
Electro.
Electro, you're just
Oh, no, not
bad.
again.
You heard it here.
I mean, Electro does power an entire
Mr.
city, so...
Morales put up a jolly good show, and yet Mr. Hawkins had him outdone in breathtaking power, stalwart defense, and veritable versatility.
Oh, he was just miles ahead of him, don't you know?
The victor is Static.
Who's playing next?
Hey, thanks for checking out the premiere of Season 7 of
Let's
Death
find
Battle.
out.
If you want the battle music for yourself, you can get it by clicking the link down below. And, hey, the card game is back in stock, so check that out on store.roosterteeth.com.
Hey, card games. Wait, they had duels? Oh, two. Oh, well. Oh, I think Black Canary
For
and I
Sindel.
think the Mortal Kombat characters. Oh, Sindel. There we go.
So yeah, SINDEL versus Black Canary. Any thoughts for
So-
the next battle?
Well, we're gonna find out next time. I'm definitely not incredibly familiar with either. Probably more from just like playing Mortal Kombat. I might be more familiar with Sindel, but that's been ages.
Oh, and years of
So
DC.
that's gonna be exciting to try to talk out next time.
Yeah, years of DC Comics. I'm more familiar with Black Canary, and I know nothing about SINDEL, so...
Oh boy. Well, this is gonna be exciting. At least I'll have be able to bring like a vague idea of how Mortal Kombat characters probably scale to DC characters. Oh hey, there was actually totally a
Crossover, yeah.
yeah. Hey, that's perfect time to bring up my experience playing that kind of trashy game.
Well, I guess we'll bring that up on our next video. Until then, I have been Raktus,
I'm Griffin.
and we will see you then on the next Stone-Faced Reactions.